There was no team more unavoidable in the 2021 cross-country season than Newbury Park. In fact, there may never be a more disruptive force in the cross-country scene than this squad, as they single-handedly caused a massive shift in the sport, perfecting the grass running art to a point where they pulled off the single greatest team performance in a major championship ever. Since a great deal of them were still underclassmen, it only made sense that they had one final hurrah left in them, and that they wanted to end their reign of dominance on a high note. Let's take a look at how their 2022 to 2023 season went. While Newbury Park as a team obviously went in as the #1 ranked team in the preseason rankings, 3 of its athletes occupied the top 5 on the individual side. The Young brothers, Lex and Leo, both of which have committed to Stanford at this point, and Aaron Salmon, who had an amazing breakout year staying just behind the brothers, or in some cases, ahead of one of them. Other notable returnee was Dev Doshi, with Braden Seymour and Aaron Cantu stepping up to take on the varsity role. One of the first major indicators that would show what shape Newbury Park was in would be the Woodbridge Classic. This hyper-competitive, flat-grass 3-mile course was where Newbury Park initially shook up the cross-country scene. But strangely enough, Salmon was actually the only one to race there, placing 7th with a 14:01. The first time the full Newbury Park squad would come together at a competitive meet would be the Clovis Invitational in early October. Unsurprisingly, the Young brothers continued to show their dominance going 1-2, Salmon wasn't too far behind, and the rest of the boys grabbed quite a few spots to finish the meet with a 40-point win and a 15 flat 5K average between the top 5. With such a solid opening performance from the team, they consistently led the rankings despite not showing up to a single notable race for another month and a half. At the California State Championships, though, a 24-point finish would further solidify them as the kings of the West Coast, and of course the top dogs to look out for at the prolific Nike Cross Nationals. However, on the individual side, it was a bit more up in the air as most would think. Hovering at the #1 spot at one point was Benzie Central's Hunter Jones, a senior who went on an absolute tear, winning 12 races in a row and a 14:21 5K at his regional championships. Then there was Tyrone Gorsey, who won the iconic Woodbridge Cross Country Classic in 13:42, not far off of Leo Young's previous mark in 2021. Even if the team title was pretty set in stone from a numbers standpoint due to Newbury Park's dense pack, the individual gold medal was much more in contention, especially since there wasn't a whole lot of data to go off of, given the Young brothers' conservative race schedule this year. The opening strategy for this race was probably as aggressive as it could have gone. A Newbury Park athlete would storm to the front, but it wouldn't be one of the Young brothers, but rather Aaron Salmon, the #3 guy. Given his status as the #1 800 runner in high school at the moment, perhaps this type of egregious opening wasn't too shocking for him. But the Young brothers figured this actually wasn't enough and took it upon themselves to lead the race, while other top-ranked athletes swarmed Salmon quickly as well. The first split is a strangely measured 1.3K mark, but nevertheless, the Young brothers are right up front with Jones, Gorsey, and a few others as we approach the mile mark. This is the point where live viewers realized that this pace was blazing, as a 4:33 mile is not far off of 14 flat 5K pace, which on a non-flat grass course was without a doubt a risky start for everyone involved. As Lex and Leo crush the hill at 2K, the front pack immediately strings out, and after the next mini hill at around halfway, Salmon is back in the mix right behind the Youngs. Although, The brothers are still put off by the fact that anyone is near them, as you can see the two briefly communicating with each other to pull away even further, and Salmon makes the commitment to latch on for as long as he can too. At 2 miles, it's a pack of 4, which is Gorsey and the Newbury Park trio, but a couple hundred meters later, Leo Young begins to make the first solo drastic move, while Lex notably fades away, and Gorsey and Salmon play the waiting game in the meantime. By 4K, the star of the show is Leo Young and Leo Young only, as he had more than a 5-second lead over Gorsey. Given the anaerobic style of this race, it's pretty likely that if Leo musters a respectable last kilometer, the title will most definitely be his. By the 2 3/4 mile split, Leo's lead had minimized to 3 seconds, with Salmon now slowly gaining ground before the last hill section. As Leo forces his quads up the hill, he looks like he's approaching complete muscular failure, and Salmon realizes this, completely breezes past Leo, and he now gets the first glimpse of the finish line tape. With all the momentum in the world, the winner was set in stone at this point, as Aaron Salmon would not just claim his first ever Nike Cross Nationals title, but his first ever win at a cross-country meet in general.
Start to the lead, and he sprints at the end to the victory. What a day for Aaron Salmon of Newbury Park.
Dynasty, 4 years running, Newbury Park of California.
Great job, guys. It's a team score record.
While Newbury Park took the national title as expected, the individual results were quite shocking on a few fronts. Leo faded so drastically down the final stretch that he placed out of the top 10. Lex fell much further, placing 35th, but as a silver lining, Aaron Salmon wins his first ever high school cross-country race in general, taking home arguably one of the most stacked Nike Cross National titles ever. Braden Seymour also stepped up amazingly to finish in the top 25, and Aaron Cantu grabbed a great amount of points, helping the team win by a whopping 86 points. Now, Salmon's cross-country career was over at this point, but Lex and Leo still had their eyes set towards bigger meets as far out as early 2023. The two plan to compete at the Under-20 National Cross Country Championships to have a chance at competing at the international ones set to happen in Bathurst, Australia. And after Leo won the entire thing handily, he would be the one to fly out to the other side of the world to represent the United States. While the East African teams put a clinic on the rest of the field, Leo would be the first finisher outside of this parameter, landing well in the top 20 and capping off his high school cross-country endeavors on a pretty fantastic note. Now that the extended cross-country season was over, Leo was likely taking a much-needed quick rest after an arduous season of training and racing. But Lex had his sights on the indoor 5K record set by Edward Cheserek back in 2012. This attempt would take place at New Balance Indoor Nationals, and the lineup in general for this was fairly stacked, especially with Gorsey and silver medalist at NXN, Daniel Simmons, present. This was also one of the rare high school races that would include wave-light technology, although the pace would stay just behind the lights instead the entire time, but with 800 to go, Gorsey would be the one to make the move to chase the lights and ultimately become the new national record holder in the indoor 5K. But Lex still ran a great time, finishing a few seconds behind in 14 flat. Salmon had also raced here, where he got third in the mile running 4:05.70, but more or less gave up in the 800. By this point, Leo was the only one that hadn't raced indoors, but in all actuality, he raced a week earlier than everyone else, surprisingly, running an outdoor 1500 where he ran a number 4 all-time mark. While the Newbury Park trio had been putting up some very promising performances the entire time, you could tell they were all still hungry for some type of national record. Someone was going to need to pull off something great, and after missing his last chance at the indoor 5K record, Lex figured the outdoor one was still within grasp. He had attempted this back in 2022 where he was a fair bit off of Galen Rupp's 13:37, but given that was over a year ago, perhaps that was all he needed to make it a reality. His first attempt would be at the Brian Clay Invitational, but had run virtually the same time as last year. To make matters slightly more difficult, Southern Boone County's Connor Burns would be the one to dethrone Rupp's iconic mark by half a second, but Lex was still going to give it another whirl at the Los Angeles Grand Prix. Not only would he run the new high school record, but he would easily beat it by over 2 seconds.
Thrilling, to say the least. I was so happy. I was overjoyed. It was an amazing experience. Hopefully that was interesting. It sure was a fun experience for me. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.
With that, this is effectively the end of the Newbury Park saga. With all of the major top dogs graduating and moving on to their collegiate careers, the ferocious hold this team had on high school distance running has officially closed out its final chapter. Even without all of the major runners present, the team is still putting up respectable performances, as they still had a solid showing at the Woodbridge Classic, but we will likely never see the program at this magnitude again, and may never see it again across any team in general for decades to come. The young brothers have moved on to the University of Stanford. Salman will be joining his brother at NAU, and the rest will be further pursuing their running goals at the NCAA, where they'll all be likely butting heads with each other sometime or another. The probability of seeing a 2021 Newbury Park tier team is slim, but to say it can't happen ever again is something we will never know for sure. So of course, we'll just have to wait and see. This closes out the Newbury Park saga, and thanks for watching. Thank you to all my patrons for supporting the channel, and if you want to support the channel for more track and field content like this, come on over and become a patron. Drop a sub, and check out my other links below. I'll see you on whatever video I upload next, and take care.